Hello aspirants. Today we are going to discuss about Hilly Area Development Program. And this Hilly Area Development Program comes within the unit of Regional Planning. Regional Planning Paper 2. Let's discuss some of the salient features of this development program. Before starting the Hilly Area Development Program, I just want to share the fact that this Hilly Area Development Program is completely different from the Tribal Area Development Program. Don't get confused with this fact that the hilly area is also the same that of a tribal area, because hilly area may not only the tribes are living but some non-tribes are also staying there. So this development is both for the tribes as well as non-tribes. You know that hill area constitutes about 18% of total landmass in India, in which you will have some 70 million people that are staying in this hilly areas. However, the hilly areas, you know that it is characterized by poor accessibility, difficult terrain. There is a problem of soil erosion because of some slopes, steep slopes, landslides, etc. And the problems of hilly areas are completely different from the problems of plain areas. So that is why a different approach have been adopted, especially for the development of hilly areas. And this Hilly Area Development Program was generally adopted during the fifth five-year plan. This fifth five-year plan is also called as Special Area Approach Plan. Why this is called as Special Area Approach Plan? Because in this particular plan, not only the hilly areas, in fact other area specific programs were conceived, like Command Area Development, Backward Area Development Program, Desert Development Program. So such area specific programs have been initiated in this particular plan. Okay, let's move on to the another thing, that is there are four components which are very important for the development of any area or specifically to the development of hilly areas, and these are transport, network, land development, afforestation and energy. Let's discuss all these four one by one in detail. Transportation, you know, transportation is very important for connectivity as well as for the economic growth of any region. And because of steep terrain and inhospitable altitude, या फिर यूँ कह लीजिए कि because of landslides, harsh weather conditions, establishing transport in the hilly areas has always been difficult. But in the recent years, government has somehow managed to overcome this challenge. और कुछ बेहतरीन examples have come forward, like Atal Tunnel. Atal Tunnel was built to connect Manali with the Leh. Another is network. Network is also important, and network is a very comprehensive word when we are using here. It means a robust network of communications, digital infrastructure, electricity infrastructure. All these comes within the networks. And remote locations have always some challenges like low population density, and that always makes establishing these networks very expensive for them. Like एक example अगर मैं इसका share करूँ networks का, the best is the Bharat Net project. Bharat Net project, which was a project that was rolled out to provide high speed internet connectivity connections to rural as well as to the hilly areas. Next is that is land development. You cannot ignore land development, and sustainable land development is very essential for agriculture, for housing and for infrastructure. And another limitation in the hilly areas is that there is hardly a flat land available for land developments. So land development becomes a very important thing when you are talking about or when you are having a vision of hilly areas or planning of hilly areas. Fourth point is afforestation. Afforestation can help you to combat soil erosion, landslides, and it can also help you to control some sort of climate changes. Energy में अगर बात करूँ तो if we are relying on the renewable energy projects, that can help to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels also. Example afforestation का एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन example है, that is Chipko movement. The Chipko movement was started in 1970s. Locals have come forward to highlight the importance of afforestation in the hilly areas. Okay, apart from this, the Hilly Area Development Program is not only about the development or the regional planning, but it is also about people's participation so that local hilly area people can be brought within the mainstream. Along with this, they have also emphasized on the women empowerment with some following objectives that we are going to discuss. These are three. One is eco restoration, eco development, and eco preservation. Let's see eco restoration, development, and preservation one by one in detail. What is the meaning of eco restoration? Eco restoration means restoring the degraded ecosystems to their original form. And there have been some examples of it also. You know that many of the hilly areas are suffering from deforestation, soil erosion, biodiversity loss. All these are some challenges in the hilly areas. And the best example of eco restoration is the restoration of Bugyal grasslands. You might have heard about the Bugyal word. These Bugyal grasslands are found in the high altitudes in Uttarakhand. And with the some support of local communities, government, they have planted the native species of grasses that have improved the soil retentions and have enhanced the vegetation and biodiversity in these areas also. Okay, another example can be of Aravali's. You might have heard about the Aravali's, and Aravali's have been struggling a lot because of continuous mining, deforestation activities, and due to which Aravali's have lost its green cover. However, the banning of illegal mining and all have helped to revive the groundwater table in some of the areas of Aravali's. Next is eco-development. What is eco-development? When we are talking about the development or economic activities, eco-development means it must be benefiting both the environment as well as local communities. And how it can be done? It can be done through sustainable tourism, organic farming, community-based livelihood projects. Okay. These things can be a component for economic development. Best example for sustainable tourism is, I would say, about the Wayanad model of Kerala. And for organic farming, you can write about Sikkim also, which is the first organic state of India. Third one is eco-preservation. What is eco-preservation? Eco-preservation is protecting the natural ecosystems by strict enforcement of laws, or it can be achieved by reducing the human interference. If somehow we can manage these things, we can preserve our ecosystem. The best example of eco-preservation is Silent Valley National Park. In 1970s, the government was planning to establish a hydroelectric project in this area, but the locals have staged out a dharna, and ultimately this project was cancelled. According to experts, if this project would have materialized, it would have completely submerged the rich tropical forest lying around the Silent Valley region. So this is how the eco-preservation works. Let's move ahead. Another thing is that if you talk about the Hilly Area Development Program, there is a formula that was proposed by Madhav Gadgil. Madhav Gadgil, one of the prominent personalities, has proposed a formula that for the development of these states, the financial assistance will be 90% borne by central government and 10% by the state government. And on the basis of this formula, following areas have been identified like Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Tripura, Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand. Almost every state that lies within the vicinity of Himalayas are included in this, but this is not only confined to the Himalayas. We know the Western Ghats is also a hilly region, and some of the taluks of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Goa are also part of this. However, the most excessive focus that has been given to any hilly area is northeastern India, and this focus has been enhanced ever since the onset or the formation of Northeast Council. Establishment of Northeast Council, there have been an incremental growth in the budgetary allocation for the Hilly Area Development Program, especially for the Northeast India. And a comprehensive roadmap have also been laid out for the development of infrastructure in Northeast under the plan of Vision 2020 Northeast. Northeast is very important because it is sensitive, it is a volatile area, and it also lies on the borders of Myanmar and China. So, plus this is also a part of Act East policy. Hilly Area Development Program also falls into two categories. One is those which coexist with the boundaries of the states or union territories, means those hilly areas which is on the borders of our neighboring countries like Jammu and Kashmir ka hilly areas, Himachal Pradesh, and because of that they have been given special category status, and their outlay is met substantially out of central assistance. Means the developmental fund is mainly maximum of the developmental fund is borne out by the central government, that is the union government. And there are also those areas which form the part of the state such as Assam, Uttarakhand, West Bengal. ठीक है, so there are also some areas which are the part of state and are not lying on the international borders. However, the responsibility for development of them lies on the part of state, but the central assistance or the central government is also making some sort of funding for them also. Look at this map, you can see these are the red one, all are the areas for the Hilly Area Development Program. And when you are writing about the Hilly Area Development Program, some components that you should always keep in your mind was forestry, horticulture, land use pattern, animal husbandry, industries, and preservation of flora and fauna. And whenever you are talking about industries, you must keep this in your mind that these must be the environment friendly industries only, because the fragile ecology of hilly areas does not allow the establishment of industries that are the polluting ones. Okay, let's discuss some of the problems in the Hilly Area Development Plan. Like every area has some sort of problems, the hilly area is also facing with some problems. The first problem is that social structure of the region. You know, the people living in the hilly areas, they do not cooperate with the administration because either they feel that they are isolated or they are not the part of mainstreams. Plus there have been some instances where we have seen like militant outfits in Jammu and Kashmir have taken advantage of their simplicity of tribes, and they are inciting their feelings against the establishment, and that has led to violence in Jammu and Kashmir for a very longer period of time, and that is also one of the reasons for deterring the investors to invest in Jammu and Kashmir. Like one project अगर उसकी बात करूँ तो दुलहस्ती project in Jammu and Kashmir was abandoned just because of the militant threats. Another is improper utilization of allocated funds. Funds have been consistently allocated for the development of hilly areas, but the problem of corruption, lack of transparency, these are the major challenges in these areas. Even you know, the politicians and high level bureaucrats used to give ransom money to the outfits in these areas so that they could get a protection from these terrorist or insurgent groups. Another point is internal rivalry among tribal groups. You might have heard a lot of news about the tribal groups because of some ethnic conflicts, and the recent was of Kukis and Metis in Manipur, and all these have become the cause of the border security issues also. Another thing is extreme events of natural hazards like floods, like glacial lake outburst flood, landslides, and this have become a regular phenomena in these areas because of unstable slopes, poor soil that is causing the erosion also. Another is low agriculture production and productivity. Yes, because the farms are not very extensive and you cannot use technology in these areas because technology requires the huge lands. But as the farmers in the hilly areas are poor and they have very fragmented piece of land, so we cannot deploy the technologies there, and if we can deploy, so that would not yield an optimum results for us also. Next is people from tribal areas are not very enthusiastic about developmental activities. That is also true because people are poor, they are unaware, and because of their scattered settlements, they are not very enthusiastic about developmental activities. Let's see some of the government programs that government has rolled out in the past. One is watershed development component. Watershed development component is very important because it helps to focus on conserving the soil, water, and even to improve the dryland areas. So this is very important, watershed development component. Or abhi recently in terms of hilly areas, I can say Kangra and Mandi places in Himachal Pradesh, integrated watershed development project of these places was in news because of some good initiatives that have been taken by local governments. Another is National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change. Yes, this is a fund or the money that has been extended to the hilly states so that they can adapt to the climate change, particularly in the hilly states. इसमें वही सब सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर, वाटर रिसोर्स मैनेजमेंट, एफॉरेस्टेशन एंड डिजास्टर रेजिलियंस. Border area development program. Focus must be on hilly area border regions. Especially if you go in Ladakh and Leh area, you will see that how BRO, that is Border Road Organization, have worked and extensive infrastructure have been built so as to ensure a well laid out connectivity in these hilly areas. In fact, rupees 20,000 crore has been allocated every year for the construction of roads and other infrastructure in these sensitive or hilly areas. Fourth one is National Ropeways Development Program. This was also recently in the news in 2024. This ropeways is, they are developing a ropeways in hilly regions so as to improve the transportation. Plus it is also boosting a tourism in these areas. The example इसका एक बहुत बेहतरीन है, that is of McLeodganj to Dharamshala. There are ropeways and it has become the tourist attraction also. Way forward, let's move to the way forward. Way forward is, whenever we are going to have any project in the hilly areas, we must carry out an environmental impact assessment of it. Government should not ignore these environmental impact assessment projects, and while carrying out these assessments, the locals must also be consulted, especially the mining ones, mining projects, dam projects. These are some projects which have been ignored, especially when it comes to the consultation with the locals. Second is wildlife corridors. Wildlife corridors means connecting the wildlife habitats and allowing the safe movement of species. And one such famous is in Pench. Wildlife corridor of Pench is very famous, and recently it was also in news. Plus more than 100 wildlife corridors have been built in the past 5 to 6 years, especially for the elephants and tigers. Third point is legal accountability. Yes, individuals, companies or governments who are responsible for environmental damage are accountable through legal measures. Like we have an example of Sterlite copper plant case in Tamil Nadu, which was accused of polluting the groundwater. And that's why the locals were staging out a protest, as the company was not complying with the environmental norms. Fourth one is horticulture and organic farming. Yes, example of Sikkim is suitable in this. Another is slope management. Yes, slope management means the techniques so as to prevent the landslides and soil erosion in hilly areas through some sort of afforestation, terracing and some engineering solutions. Ecotourism, the best example is of Kerala. Rainwater harvesting and water management. You know, the places like Cherrapunji, which receives maximum rainfall not only in India but across the world. Despite having such a strong rainfall in Cherrapunji is still suffering from the shortage of water. This shows that we need to adapt rainwater harvesting and water management methods so as to conserve it and use it judiciously. And the last one is special development funds. Yes, special development funds are also needed so as to target the financial assistance from the government in specific regions, particularly in the backward and disaster prone areas. Okay, and the disaster prone areas are hilly areas, especially northeast. May every year we are seeing floods. Uttarakhand is also bearing the brunt of floods, landslides, glacial lake outburst floods. So all these things are happening one by one, and it has become a annual ritual in the hilly areas. So this was all about the Hilly Area Development Program.